Late March 2025, a solo indie developer with no publisher, no marketing budget, and no big studio behind him drops a game on Steam. Within days, it's not just popular, it's unstoppable. It's outselling Counter-Strike. It's sitting above Path of Exile 2. It's parked between two of the biggest games on the planet, on Steam's most played chart. The game is called Schedule 1, and it lets you build your own drug empire, Breaking Bad style, from a rundown trailer to a full-blown cartel operation. But here's the part nobody saw coming. The bigger Schedule 1 got, the bigger the target on its back got. Because 3 weeks after launch, headlines everywhere started saying the same thing. Schedule 1 is being sued. Except, it wasn't. Not exactly. What actually happened is stranger, messier, and honestly more interesting than an actual lawsuit. So let's break down how one indie game accidentally started a war on Steam, without a single court document ever being filed. To understand the chaos, you have to understand how fast Schedule 1 took off. It was made by a single developer going by the name Tyler, working under the studio tag TVGS. No AAA backing, no hype trailer campaign, just word of mouth. The pitch was simple. You're a small-time dealer building a drug operation from scratch. Grow it, cook it, package it, sell it, launder it. Hire staff, dodge the cops, expand your turf. It's part tycoon game, part crime sim, and it leaned hard into that Breaking Bad fantasy, being the guy who builds an empire out of nothing. Players ate it up. Streamers ate it up. Within weeks, it wasn't just trending. It was one of the best reviewed games on the entire platform, sitting in overwhelmingly positive territory, with thousands of reviews pouring in every single day. And that's exactly when things got complicated. See, Schedule 1 wasn't the first drug dealer simulator on Steam. Back in 2020, a Polish studio released a game literally called Drug Dealer Simulator. It had its own audience, its own sequel in 2024, and its own publisher, a publicly traded company called Movie Games SA. And now here comes this indie newcomer, using a strikingly similar premise, similar mechanics, even a similar UI in some areas, and completely eating their lunch on the charts. So Movie Games SA did something that, on paper, sounds pretty routine for a public company. They announced they were opening a legal investigation into Schedule 1 to check whether it infringed on their IP, the plot structure, the mechanics, and the interface. Now, here's the key detail that got lost in translation almost instantly. This wasn't filed in a courtroom. It wasn't a lawsuit. It was disclosed through something called ESBI, a Polish stock market communication system that publicly traded companies are legally required to use whenever something could affect their stock price. Movie Games didn't have a choice. If they suspected infringement and stayed quiet about it, they could be held liable for negligence to their own shareholders. But gaming media doesn't read stock market filings for context. They read the headline, and company investigates a hit game for copyright infringement became, in article after article, Schedule 1 is being sued. And that one word, sued, lit the fuse. Schedule 1's community did not take it well. Within 24 hours, players redirected their anger straight at Drug Dealer Simulator and its sequel. Steam reviews for both games got absolutely buried. Hundreds of negative reviews flooding in, dragging Drug Dealer Simulator's rating down from very positive to mostly negative almost overnight. The comments were brutal. People accused Movie Games of trying to kill off a rising competitor instead of improving their own game. Some called it corporate jealousy dressed up as legal process. Others straight up called for a boycott. There is no lawsuit. They laid it out point by point. No legal action had been filed. They weren't trying to stop Schedule 1 from being sold or developed. This was strictly an internal investigation, forced on them by their legal obligations as a public company. And notably, the developer of Drug Dealer Simulator wasn't even involved. This was entirely a publisher-side decision. Tyler, the actual creator of Schedule 1, even confirmed it himself. No lawsuit had been filed against him. But by then, the narrative had already spread across every gaming outlet on the internet. The damage was done. Here's what makes this story bigger than just gamers got mad on the internet. This is a case study in how fast a stock market disclosure, something meant purely for financial transparency, can get mistranslated into a viral, false narrative within hours. Nobody lied, exactly. Movie games followed the law. The media reported what they saw. But the moment investigation turned into lawsuit, in a single headline, an entire community mobilized against a company that hadn't actually done what people thought it did. And Schedule 1 didn't even flinch. While all of this was happening, Tyler kept pushing updates. New content, new patches, business as usual. The game stayed on Steam the entire time, maintaining its overwhelmingly positive rating throughout the entire controversy. It's the same playbook we saw with Pal World and Nintendo, a breakout indie hit facing a legal cloud, but staying fully playable and profitable while the legal side plays out in the background, completely separate from what players actually experience. So no, Schedule 1 was never sued. There was no courtroom, no filing, no verdict. What actually happened was a publicly traded company doing the paperwork it's legally forced to do, getting picked up by the press, getting flattened into one scary word, and turning into a review bombing firestorm that dragged down 2 unrelated games in the process. The real story isn't a lawsuit. It's how easily the internet can turn "we're looking into this" into "we're destroying you," and how one small studio's breakout hit became collateral damage in a war that, technically, never even started. Schedule 1 is still out there, still climbing, still cooking, and whether or not that investigation ever amounts to anything, that's a story for another day.